Welcome to Sykes, the Bottom Line Pharmacy Podcast, your regular dose of pharmacy CPA advice to fuel your bottom line, featuring pharmacists, key vendors, and other innovators.
Your checks, yes, you can call me, because we the best, Sykes and Company, we the best.
All right, tell us about that fly-in, Cole. What was that all about?
So, this is actually the first time since 2019 NCPA had their fly-in.
I didn't realize that.
Due to COVID.
And we were going to go that year, by the way, 2019. We were scheduled to go.
And so they have it every year. It's usually like a 2-day event. But of course, 2020 was COVID. And then the restrictions after January the 6th, getting inside the office buildings and inside the Capitol for 2022 were still so stringent,
right?
That's one reason they didn't have it in 22. And so it was great to be back, to see everybody. People that aren't familiar with the fly-in, it's something NCPA does every year where independent pharmacy owners come to Washington, D.C. There are speakers in the morning, and then you make Hill visits in the afternoon.
Well, I have a crazy question.
Talk about. What's that?
Was the word or the phrase DIR fee mentioned at all?
Just a little bit. We're finally getting some of the staffers educated on DIR. Some of the newer people. So in Alabama, we have a new senator, and we are having to go back to DIR 101 with her.
That's tough. Yeah.
And that's the thing. And a lot of people don't know this. So DIR was put in originally in 2003 as a way to keep premiums down. DIR has always been in Medicare Part D. It's not something that they just stuck in after 2010. And so it's just lately the PBMs have figured out a way to use it to their advantage, and doing the clawbacks and stuff like that. So, some people are not familiar with the fact that DIR was in the original bill to keep premiums low, and that's kind of until after 2010 it was kind of a thing you didn't even know, because it really wasn't used against us, or to the advantage of the big three. So
yeah.
And then they saw that. Then they saw what it can do, and they're like, "Oh boy."
Yeah. And I wish I had the numbers in front of me, but there was a 33% increase in DIR from 21 to 22, and it was like 8 billion to 11 billion.
I believe it. We definitely see it in the numbers for everybody. The increase there
all across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, DIR is going away. Let me hold on. Let me go back on that, because Mr. Steve Grew from New York would really correct me on that. DIR is not going away on 1/1 of 24. It just will all be at the point of sale. So any cost savings or anything like that will be passed on to the point of sale of the customer. I'm sure y'all touched on that topic. Yeah, a lot of people.
Just a little bit.
A lot of people are calling it the cliff, the DIR cliff.
Yep.
And so
That's probably an appropriate term, I would say.
Yeah. But so when we were in Washington, you each state kind of gets together and makes appointments with their United States representatives and their senators. Obviously, some of the states are larger than others, so it's hard to get to everybody. In the great state of Alabama, we're kind of small, so we only have 9 districts. And but the 2 bills right now that have been introduced on both the Senate and the House side that we talked about, the first one is a Medicaid spread pricing managed care Medicaid bill. It's Senate Bill 1038 and House Bill 1613. So, managed care Medicaid, that's not something that we have in the state of Alabama. We do what we do is AAC, actual acquisition cost, plus a 1064 fee. Some states have that. Some states still have managed care Medicaid. And so this bill kind of prohibits the spread pricing that goes on at that state level. And I think it requires the PBMs to report some things back to the government on that. And so, there's a lot of talk about moving to a cost plus model, even, on the Medicaid side and on the Medicare side. The biggest problem is getting that true cost. Now, usually in the state of Alabama, we're behind on things, but we've actually been doing this good for a long time. So in our state, every 2 years, the law requires that you have to report your cost. You'll get a letter in the mail, certified mail, that says, you need to send in your invoices. It's easy to do. You call your wholesaler or whoever and send them in. So that's how our actual acquisition cost is calculated. There's talk about NADAC. NADAC is everywhere. Could be high, could be low. But that's all we have. And there's talk about is taking NADAC good is taking NADAC bad. So that's kind of the first bill that they've talked about so far this year.
So when you're sitting down with these representatives and senators and such, how engaged are they? Do you feel like you're getting anywhere when you're sitting down with them? I'm sure they can, they're politicians. They're good at, nodding their head and smiling at you. But do you really feel some things are moving there?
Yeah. Well, so, most of the time you're meeting with a staff member. Usually in our line of business, it's going to be the staff member that serves for all the health relations that congressman or senator or congress lady has. And so building that relationship with that person first is going to get you in the door. Their schedules when they're on the Hill, the congressmen or senators are just insane. So sometimes you might get to meet with them actually, sometimes not. I think this year we got to meet with the majority of ours.
Good.
But it's getting to that staff member and educating them, because that's the one, it's crazy, but Washington is ran by a demographic of 23 or 4, 5 years old to 30. All the staffers are young, and those are the gatekeepers. And so you've got that age group in Washington, D.C. practically running the country.
What goes in?
So that's always an interesting thing. But a lot of them are engaged in our state. A lot of them are, willing to help us out, sign on whatever bill we ask them to. And we greatly appreciate that. But right now, there is a lot more talk and action in D.C. on PBMs. Let's see, in Kentucky, Congressman Comer, I think he is on the oversight, maybe chairman of oversight, has had a lot of hearings on PBMs and want to know what's going on. So we've really appreciated his support. He actually spoke the first morning at breakfast at the fly-in. So we really appreciate his support.
Yeah, it's hard. It's just getting everybody to rally around it at the same time, given all the moving pieces that are going on. It's
and to educate. It's hard, like you mentioned. You get it. You finally get somebody understanding what's going on, and then somebody else is elected and takes their place, and then you have to kind of start over. It seems like.
Well, and actually, probably what I'm, what's most hopeful and what I'm most excited about is the FTC is doing what they call a 6B study on PBM practices. Maybe could also 6B could stand for a colorectal exam.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Hopefully, on these PBM practices, and so they're just looking into the vertical integration that's going on. They're looking into the IR. The chair lady Khan spoke at NCPA in October in wherever we were. Where were we?
Kansas City, wasn't it?
KC.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was probably one of the most refreshing things that we had ever heard. And then another one of the commissioners spoke at the fly-in, Bedoya, and he's actually his wife's or his father-in-law was a physician in Louisiana, and has really educated him on, when there's a hurricane in Louisiana, independent pharmacy is the first one open back up. We are the health center for a lot of these communities.
Yeah.
And so the FTC's kind of taken a they kind of taken a hands-off approach all these years, but now because they felt bigger was better. Bigger was better. Back in maybe 2009 or 10, we actually had the FTC commissioner Leibowitz, and we had a hearing with some patients on the Caremark and the CVS merger, which obviously that didn't go anywhere. But we're hoping this study is going to help, shed some light. And the FTC's enforcers, they don't have to wait on laws. They can. Can't remember what it was a couple years ago that they blocked AT&T and somebody merging with. They can go and say, hey, this is what you're going to have to do. So we're really, really hopeful about kind of what that's going to be. The study started this past summer, and so we're just kind of waiting for the results. But what the two commissioners that I've heard spoke, it's almost like we scripted it for them. It's exactly what we wanted them to say, and and they understand that what we're having to go through.
So when is that set to be? Any timeline?
It's one of those you just don't know. Just don't know. It's one of those things you sit and wait. And it could go a lot of different ways. And you're optimistic about it, but just like anything else, we've had some things that made it to the 11th hour, and even the DIR rule, they got an extension on that.
Yep.
Because it's going to take them so long to fix how they're pricing these drugs
and come up with the next idea.
Yeah. And there are
give them a year to figure out how to replace that income.
Well, and
however they're going to do it, whatever.
We're so I don't think specifically the big three PBMs have sent out a lot of contracts yet. Usually by now we've seen them for 2024, so that's kind of scary. Now I have heard some have been sent out, and they are way off from what we could afford to take. So not to scare people that might listen to this, but I think there's going to be a lot of conversations with patients, and open enrollment could be insane. It could be, hey, I'm only taking these couple of plans, so it's going to be different. It's going to be a big change. Y'all will see a big change on your side of the equation.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but no question about it.
On a lighter note, I did love when I saw some pictures of the fly-in that you are breeding another advocate for independent pharmacies look like. Took your daughter, Molly, with you guys.
So I did. I took Molly with me, and she had a big time. She
was looking sharp in her suits.
She got up every morning, curled that hair really, really good.
She was eating it up.
That didn't cause us to be too late each morning. But she had a big time. We were eating supper on Wednesday night, and she was there we are right there. We were eating supper on Wednesday night, and of course it'd been 3 or 4 years since we've had a fly-in. And she's like, Dad, do y'all do this every year? I'm like, yeah. She goes, okay, well, I'm coming next year.
Love it.
I said, I mean, come on. I don't know. But hey, go back to that. Go back to the picture before. So that is actually Congressman Gary Palmer, which is actually Jill's uncle.
Nice.
So he represents the 6th district in the state of Alabama, which is around Birmingham, south of Birmingham, and then it wraps back around to the top of Birmingham. So Molly got a little extra VIP treatment.
It looks
with
like
him.
She looks like she
looks
belongs
like
right there.
Yeah. How old is she,
So
Cole?
she's 12.
Nice.
And
Golly.
so we got there Tuesday, and she went with him down to the house floor. And we got to stay up in the gallery and watch her. Of course, down there, and there's no cell phones, so couldn't take any pictures, have no proof. But she voted. She voted for the two bills that were voting that night. She did the actual voting, and she said she voted for somebody else. She didn't know who it was. But she got to meet a lot of different congressmen and women on the floor that night, which was, that was a very unique experience.
I mean, all the pictures, she seems to be more front and center than you are.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
so
kind of
I'm
like
just,
stuffed in the back, further down the table.
I try to lay low. I told, I think that the next the picture that you have, not that one, but the next one is, so that's with Katie Britt, who is the new senator in Alabama,
Nice.
First female senator we ever had. So Gary got, an appointment for Molly to meet her. And when I introduced myself, I said, "Hey, I'm just the dad trying not to embarrass her. I'm trying to stay back." But that was a neat experience. And
Jonathan.
y'all might know these two.
Definitely know Jonathan. Yep.
And so she had a big time. She's and I knew when she went, she might not want to come back.
Nice. And she's so shy, I know it was really hard
shy.
for her.
Not very outspoken.
Not a shy bone in the body.
You might have to hire her for the trade show booth.
She would.
I think she did bring some
I think
pharmacists
she did
over.
that
she
last
did.
time, yes.
I think she did.
So,
she was like,
I
y'all
didn't
need to
tell her
meet
about-
Sykes.
Yeah, I didn't tell her about this podcast till this morning. She goes, "So you're like checking me out of school, aren't you?" And I'm like,
No, we're going to have her she's going to be on by herself. Another episode.
And I said, probably not. And she thought y'all were coming here. 'Cause all the podcasts that she knows I listen to, everybody's usually sitting in the same room.
So for anybody that hasn't been to a fly-in, do you suggest it?
So I highly suggest it. It's the people in Washington need to see and hear from us. I think the turnout was really, really good. It's they've already set the dates for next year. I want to say it's like April 17th and 18th. I highly suggest anybody getting to go. I'm going to throw a couple of plugs in for NCPA's PAC, their political action committee. Making a donation to that. At the end of the day, usually the people that write the biggest checks, which we cannot write the biggest checks as independent pharmacy, but with our grassroots and our PAC and the work that we're doing with the FTC, hopefully we'll get some things done. And we also have a legislative defense fund. That's the one that can come from corporate, that can come from your store. Remember, PAC money has to be from an individual. It cannot be from your store.
And those items are not
The
tax
LDF.
deductible. Just
The LDF is deductible.
that one is,
LDF
yes.
is deductible.
LDF.
The political one is not. Just as
And we would love for you to max out that PAC contribution, $5,000 a year. A monthly, that comes out monthly to $416.66.
it does. We see that number a lot.
And so, we really ask that. But yeah, the fly-in's great. Also, if you're not a member of NCPA, I highly recommend that you join. They are one of the few groups that are looking out for the best for us at all times.
Well, I think
Besides
it's
Sykes and Company.
Always, for sure.
I think it's no question that NCPA has been leading the charge. I mean, they
Absolutely.
have been really doing everything possible. It seems like from what I've seen.
Yeah,
I mean,
they,
there's been some changes. There continues to be some bills put on the floor. I mean, there's things moving.
Yeah, and the relationships that they have with the people on the Hill, and actually, we've talked all about federal stuff, but there's a lot of really, really great things going on at the state level, And after the Arkansas Supreme Court ruling, which was 8-0 by, if anybody hasn't forgotten, it was 8-0 in favor of independent pharmacy. A lot more people are getting things done on the state level. I serve on NCPA's state legislative committee, steering committee, and a lot of people, Oklahoma's getting some really good things done in their state. And I know New York the state of New York just carved out Medicaid from the managed care, so they're going to a fee, a cost per a fee, which is good for them. So a lot of great things going on at the state level on the advocacy side. So, and that's a lot of where people are getting things done right now after the ruling on the Arkansas case.
And NCPA has also got a hand in the state side as well.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes,
I've been to a few state conferences,
yes,
and they're there leading the charge on the state side too.
Yes, yes, and that's it's what it takes. And I encourage people to come to the fly-in. If you can't make the fly-in, invite your representative or your senator to your store.
Right.
I had my representative in my store a couple of years ago. It'd probably been before COVID. Let them see. They'll love it if they can make it. They'll love it. They'll want to take some pictures and so they can post them and show people that they're in the community.
Yeah.
And so that's another avenue. If you have if you're scared about doing that, reach out to NCPA. They'll help you arrange all that. And I know just in August, of course, I know they're in the district a lot, but I know in August, everybody's home for the whole month. And do you know a little trivia for Washington, D.C. trivia? Do you know why they take the August break, why they do the break in August?
I do not.
Because back in the day, there was no air conditioning. It was so hot.
Oh,
so
man.
They took off that month so they didn't, sweat to death.
Well, half of them went back down south and sweated even more. So,
and the Washington D.C. was built on the swamp. That's why they're always saying drain the swamp, drain the swamp. And so it can get swampy up there.
I do have one question. You're talking about how the cliff with the DIR fees. Anything you and your pharmacy is doing to prepare for that cliff?
Yes. Right now, trying to expand our LTC combo med side. So, most people know that are in the combo med business or the LTC business, there is no DIR on that side. Now, the reimbursement will change, I'm sure. Also looking at a couple of different cash models, members only cash model, kind of like the Blueberry Pharmacy, Kyle at Blueberry Pharmacy. I've been on the phone with him a lot lately trying to figure that out. Got a line of credit just in case, because they're going to, they're calling it double dipping.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm anxious to see what these contracts are going to be. They're going to be bad. Whether it's hours with your employees or cutting back hours in your pharmacy, we're only Monday through Friday, so I can't really cut out Saturdays and Sundays right now. Inventory, turn in your inventory as much as you possibly can, not keeping a lot on the shelf. We do a pretty good job of that. So it's, there are some things that you can be doing right now, but, I'm anxious to see what those contracts say. And I know y'all are.
Yes.
And you will have all the answers in the book, I'm sure. That y'all.
But the great thing is that
the Sykes playbook.
That cliff is going to hit us, or hit you guys right during tax time too. So it's going to be a fun few months.
So nobody needs to make any money this year. No profits.
We better prepare. Better do some tax planning.
Yeah.
No profits.
You don't want that. You don't want that cliff hitting you in April, and then you get the call on April 15th from your tax guy saying, "I need $100,000 check."
You got that right.
Well, you're not getting that. You're not going to get a call from us on April 15th with that news.
No. You're
going to know way in advance. That's what we do.
I still get those calls where people, I got the call on April 15th. I don't like it. I'm like, I bet you don't.
But there are, I'll put in a shameless plug for the three faces I'm looking at. we became members of Sykes in 2013. So, and I will never forget this, Scotty, at NCPA in Nashville on the final night party. Your dad was sitting at our table. Now this is back when he went to final night parties.
Not anymore, unless they're
That
before
was like
8:30.
After that was it.
Yeah,
He quit after that.
I can
The last
remember
one.
having a conversation with him and telling him my situation, and just he fed me with a fire hose.
Oh yeah, you turn that
Of
thing on, there's
information.
no turning it off.
That's what he does, boy.
Of information. And then at NCPA ownership workshop in January or February of 2013, he spoke there. Bonnie, would you have been at that?
That Nashville NCPA was the first
One of the
national
major trade
conference
shows.
or first one, I think, second one we've ever been to.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were babies.
But yeah, and that's and in 13 we became members of the Sykes family, and we have not looked back since. And people all the time call me about, yeah, I heard you use Sykes. What do you think? And I say, well, do you like when you go to a steakhouse, do you want the best steak they have? But, that's the best steak on the menu.
Well, we try.
We
try
appreciate
hard.
that. You guys are awesome. I mean, not just that you have your store, but you also, like we talked about on this podcast today. I mean, all the work that I know you do, not just with the fly-in, but all year long with these things, advocating for independent pharmacies and speaking, and everybody appreciates
part
that.
Of it. I never really knew that there was a political side of pharmacy, in which, really until Part D was passed, which is, I tell you, you could, that would be, now don't talk to me. I could probably get you some folks, but a podcast about Part D and how that was passed and all the different things. But until Part D was passed in 2003, there wasn't
so
a lot
much
of advocacy for pharmacy. But now that we have Part D, and like for example, for me, 51% of my business is Part D.
Yep.
You have no choice. We used to say.
I was just going to say. I mean, you're pharmacy owner now. You half your job is advocating, and I mean that's what you got to do.
We say that you're either sitting at the table or you're on the menu.
That's exactly.
And
right.
that is my bottom line.
So go to the fly-in.
Yes.
And start working.
Start working.
Start working it.
Making contacts. And we tell people, if you don't want to give to the pack because you're afraid we might give to somebody you don't like, give straight to the person.
Yeah.
Have them in your store, give them a check. It's all about handshakes and checks, unfortunately. Building that relationship, letting them know that, and it's everybody knows. We are the healthcare center in these small communities and even the larger communities. But it was a great flying good, and it's good to see people that you hadn't seen in a while. The NCPA family is a tight, close knit family, and we're all fighting the same struggles every single day. And
well, you guys provide a lot of value, and it's pretty evident. When you speak, when you go out talking about it, it's clear. The value you guys provide to your communities. It's there's no question. So, there's a lot of opportunity, I think, in pharmacy.
Well, and we used to say, and we still kind of say it. We've kind of changed what we say now, but it's so unfair right now. And I hate to say that because I tell my children all the time, life's not fair. Life is not fair. I'm sorry.
Yep.
But, we are such at a disadvantage that, we just want to be in the same ballpark.
Right.
As where everybody else is getting reimbursed or things like that, because we can do it better. We can do it better. And I joke all the time, pharmacists, nobody works for a penny or a dollar, however you want to say it, harder than us, whether it's either at adjudication, post-adjudication, pre-adjudication, whether it's in an audit or it's in a star rating, or a CMR. We're always trying to get, you're paid that $1. Are you going to be able to keep that $1? Are they going to take it back or take some of it back or give you more? It's a constant struggle, but I mean, it's not work to me. I absolutely love what I do. Getting to take care of my community. I tell people all the time, I'm lucky the situation I'm in. I feel like God had this plan for me to be here to take care of my community. Because there's lots of times he could have changed my direction. I actually prayed for him too a few times when I was in pharmacy school studying. Hey, is there something else I need to be doing besides this?
Could have been that NFL quarterback.
Yeah. But it's a great profession. There's not a more rewarding thing to take care of your community.
Well, Cole, we always end these podcasts with kind of your bottom line from everybody. Mine still is going to be, what is it that you said a while ago?
You're either at the table
or you're on the menu.
Yes.
That's mine. Scotty, you got one?
You got to get active. If you're not getting active, you got to. It's part of your job.
Yep.
You got to get advocacy going. It's just part of it.
Yeah, now
that's my bottom line.
That's the bottom line. I think y'all both dropped the mic on yours, but I'd say it's a lot more than filling scripts. It's a lot more than just the patient relationship. That's what I take away from today. It's a lot of relationships outside of you and the patient.
Yes.
Cole, finish us off.
The independent pharmacy is a very unique profession. We fight and we have so many challenges and we have to make so many changes, and we're a resilient group, and it's hard for people to understand the challenges that we have. Y'all obviously see it. We appreciate our patients. We're thankful for people like y'all that help get the word out and help us at the end of the day. We're only as good as the people around us. And so, I guess my bottom line is, yes, get involved. Whether it's at the state level, at the local level, at the state level. We have 2 pharmacists in Congress right now. Run for a position in your district. Give to the pack, get involved, and be a part of what we're trying to do. Because it's actually bigger than what we are. Because like I said at the beginning, we're advocating for our business and for independent pharmacy, but you're advocating for those people that depend on you to be at your pharmacy every day, or the ones that are opening up after the hurricane. They know you're going to be there. So that's what we're here for.
Well said on that. That's a daggone good bottom line if I've ever heard one. So, Cole, we thank you for joining us today, and we're going to have you on again in the future. And we appreciate everything you do to support us, and just for being a great client of ours. So we appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for the opportunity.
Sykes and Company. We the best. Sykes and Company. Yes.